Curie Research Fellow at Queen's University Belfast in United Kingdom.
Thank you. And Jen, please.
Hi everyone, I'm Jen Bardsley. I'm the Global Head of Science for the British Council.
Thank you. I think that's all of our panelists. Thank you. So I'm just going to briefly introduce EURAXESS and EURAXESS UK. And as Claire said, she'll be chairing the panel, the webinar today. So thank you to Clare, Viney, for that. Okay, so I'm just going to share my screen. Thank you. Okay, but could somebody on the panel just confirm you can see my slides?
Yeah, all good.
Thank you. Okay, so so thank you again for coming to the our Women in Research webinar today, and appreciate that. So just to give you a quick idea of the agenda. So we're talking about EURAXESS, and then Claire will talk about the UK landscape for women in research. Elizabeth will talk about the Europe landscape for women in research. Jen Bardsley will talk about the British Council's work in research, and Shashi Arya will give her personal career highlights and challenges. Maria will also give her personal career highlights and challenges, and Sangeeta will discuss Gotara's report on the unspoken reality of the gender gap in STEM, and then we'll move on to our panel discussion. So, thank you. Okay, so EURAXESS. So EURAXESS UK is part of the wider EURAXESS network. This was set up by the European Commission 20 years ago to help support researchers' mobility and career development. All EURAXESS services are completely free to access. Important to note that. The British Council represent EURAXESS for the UK, and this is funded by the Department for Science, Innovation and Technology. So EURAXESS, as I mentioned, it's designed to remove the barriers to researchers' mobility, so moving around for career, also supporting career development, and to encourage merit-based recruitment and cooperation between research organisations, and to foster attractive careers in Europe and beyond. So there is a network. It's 43 European country hubs. There's the EURAXESS main portal, and then each of the 43 European countries have their own portal where they offer advice and information. So the EURAXESS network also includes 9 worldwide hubs, so it's very international. So as you can see, Africa, Latin America, North America, Japan, and more. So I'm just going to briefly play a video which will give a bit more information on EURAXESS, just an overview. It's a 2-minute video.
Are you a researcher looking for the next step in your career? EURAXESS is the European Commission's research portal that you will want to visit. By joining EURAXESS, you can connect with renowned universities, research organizations, and businesses all around Europe. Available at your fingertips are thousands of jobs, funding, and hosting opportunities in all research fields and for all researcher profiles. Once you have found the offer suiting you the most, follow the instructions on where to apply. Access is easy, whereas registration is free and comes with a lot of benefits. Create your profile today, look for partners, or make your CV available to recruiters. Looking for support when relocating for your research project? The EURAXESS centres provide you and your family with free information and personalised assistance. Whether you want to know more about European research policy, funding, or further collaboration opportunities, EURAXESS Worldwide helps you interact on a global scale, while the 40 EURAXESS national portals provide country-specific practical advice and information. And EURAXESS isn't just for researchers. If you're an entrepreneur or business, you get access to the world's greatest scientific minds, as well as the opportunity to hire, fund, or host them. Or maybe you're part of a research organization or university. EURAXESS lets you post your vacancies, look through CVs, and create partnerships. Wait, that's not all. Whether you are a recent graduate, professor, entrepreneur, or a journalist, our policy library offers you access to policy papers, R&D reports, and research facts. Basically, everything you need to keep your research in motion. Don't waste more time. Join EURAXESS today and take your research career to the next level.
Okay, so as you can see, quite a lot there offered.
Are you a researcher?
So the main draws for researchers, obviously looking for jobs, funding and hosting. There's over 100,000 researchers that are using the platform. There's an average of 64,000 job offers published yearly. You can also get country advice from the individual portals and the EURAXESS service centres that are in those countries, and the career development that was mentioned. And obviously for researchers and businesses, the opposite is the draw. They can offer jobs, funding and hosting. They can also find resources specifically for institutions, about the policy library, and they can direct their researchers to the resources. And there's over 13,000 registered organisations. So that's just a screenshot of the career development you can access. So you can see for industry, entrepreneurship, career development tools are available. There's a career handbook for young researchers, and quite a few virtual webinar recordings and trainings that are available. So that's on the EURAXESS portal. So this is just a brief view of the figures from yesterday. So there's over 9,500 jobs that are currently on offer worldwide, 629 EURAXESS centres. For the UK, there's 253 job offers currently in 28 EURAXESS centres. So as you can see, you can search you can filter for country, the research programme, keywords, etc. And it's similar for funding. You can filter so to make it more specific for you. You can also set up a profile on My EURAXESS that will set your individual preferences. And this is just an overview of the 28 EURAXESS centres in the UK. So again, you can look by coverage area and keywords. And on the EURAXESS UK portal, there's information that's specific to the UK. So information on finance, healthcare, visa, accommodation, etc. Then just wanted to briefly mention a couple of initiatives from the wider EURAXESS network. So the Science for Refugees is currently active. There are for refugees and displaced researchers that are looking for job opportunities. There's an initiative that's live at the moment. And there's also Researchers Beyond Academia mentoring program. So if you're looking for a mentor, like for example, a research manager or a mentor in industry, and that's an annual thing, and it's in October and November, so something to look out for. So EURAXESS, for March, we've got another webinar on the 21st of March that's on career choices, careers beyond academia, and some plans coming up. There'll be a webinar with Horizon Europe, Marie Curie from UK Arya will run an advice webinar with us with information on applying. There'll also be another webinar in the future with more information, more in-depth information on the UK research landscape. And there'll be further information on visas with personal experiences, and there's also episode in the pipeline on the EURAXESS Smart Talks podcast. So this is the information for the 21st of March Researchers Beyond Academia. So please do come to that if you're interested and share it with your network. And yes, so just an overview, you'll get an understanding of career options, next steps, and communicating your skills to employers. So if there's anything else you'd like to see from EURAXESS UK, that QR code will take you to the website. You can please do join up to LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, etc., and the newsletter for the latest information. So thank you everybody for listening to me, and I'm going to pass over to Clare Viney, our panel chair. Thank you, Clare.
Thank you, Una. And I'm just gonna, if you can stop sharing, that would be great. So hello and welcome everybody. I'm Clare Viney. As I said, I'm Chief Executive of the Careers Research Advisory Centre, and we run the Vitae programme. We care about how and why people make the career decisions that they do, and we really care about women in research in particular. We're a charity. We've been working since 1964 to support researchers since 1968. So a lot of work has happened, but there's still a long way to go. And we're very proud, as I say, to work with the British Council. The EURAXESS network is not just an excellent source of information. It's free. It's free for you as researchers, and there's a whole host of information to help you. And there's a massive community of researchers across Europe and the associated countries that are helping to support you in your career and professional development. So as we know, in education, girls and women generally outperform boys and men, but the reverse tends to occur in transitions into the workplace and in progression within it. In UK universities, across all disciplines in 2022-23, women made up 48% of the total staff population, and yet only 31% of professors were female. This percentage of female professors increased by 1% in the last year and 2% in the last 2 years. So at this rate, in 17 years' time, we might have equity. The sad thing is that in some areas of STEM, it's much lower. So professors in engineering is more like 12%. But there are some massive positives, and we must not forget that that we've made some really, really strong gains over the last two or three decades. And I know that Elizabeth will go into a little bit more detail about the work that she's been doing. But academic staff employed as senior academic contracts comprised of 42% of females, and this has actually increased from 33% over the last 10 years. In the top 200 universities, 48 of those universities have female presidents or vice chancellors, and about a third of vice chancellors are women in the UK. So these are the positives. However, the gender pay gap, certainly, we've made some strides, but in universities, it's 14.92% compared to the median level of 8.3% in other sectors. And we know that when other characteristics interact with gender, so when we have intersectionality such as ethnicity, sexual orientation and disability, the progression gap grows even wider. So we all know and recognise that diversity is a crucial aspect within aspirations for excellence in research, science and technology globally. And there is a growing evidence base that greater diversity within any workforce and more inclusive working cultures support increased innovation, creativity, and there's some evidence that they can enhance productivity. So over the past few years, definitely here in the UK, the discussion has been around the need for gender equity in universities, and that's evolved into this broader debate about creating more inclusive working and research cultures. Research environment and culture and how that impacts on the progression, inclusion and diversity of researchers has really been under the spotlight. And as I say, we've made some really great steps globally, and today we're going to hear a little bit about some of the things that are happening at policy level and at practical level, and we're going to hear from some fantastic female researchers and their personal journeys. So it's clear that there's a long way to go in terms of equality, even when you just look at the universities. And underrepresentation fosters more underrepresentation. So we need to understand how we can break this cycle And we need sustained focus and investment to do that. And that was why on International Women's Day last Friday, investing in women, we need to go beyond monetary investment and think about how we invest time, effort, and raise each other and lift each other up. So that's a quick whistle-stop tour of the current landscape here in the UK research sector. I'm going to pass over to Elizabeth. Elizabeth, do you want to pop your camera on? Brilliant.
Okay.
And Elizabeth is going to talk to us about her work with Portia.
Yes, so the Portia was established at Imperial College by a group of women scientists and engineers who kind of, oh my goodness, that was 1996 or somewhere around that time. And the idea was that basically there were not enough women entering STEM fields, and especially as it was Imperial College, the kind of a technology-oriented fields, in particular computing. I was then at the Department of Computing. My friend was in physics and another one was aeronautics. And we sort of operated to start with as a voluntary group, but in 2001, we actually had to incorporate Portia in order to be able to bid for funding. So I have looked at the history really of gender equality in science, and definitely for the first time in 20 years that I begin to feel positive that actually the landscape is changing in a way that will enable improvements to happen. And the landscape that is changing is the one in policy in particular, and in Europe slightly differently that it is happening in the UK. So in Europe, basically, of course, gender equality was a criterion of European Union was ambition for gender equality, but it was not really considered in the context of research for quite a long time. And although there was a policy for gender mainstreaming, it was mainly concerned about social justice rather than anything to do with science. In 2009, we had a framework program project called GenSet, where we invited a panel of science leaders from across Europe, presented them with the empirical evidence, and asked them whether they thought gender mattered to science. After 3 two-day seminars and a lot of discussion and denial, they have realized something that nobody else has pointed out up till then, is that basically in the evidence, they can see much more data for females and women than for males and men, and hence they concluded the outcomes from research, the quality of outcomes from research will be often worse for women. So this was, then I knew that what we had is some way of pressing on for gender equality in science on the basis of quality of research. What they have also done is that they actually wrote a letter to the European Commission to say that the experience they just went through has to be made more widely available because the evidence is persuasive and there's enough expertise to create change. And that's from this, we then created Gender Summit, which has been now going on since 2011, and it's globally represented. So the main concept to keep in mind when you're thinking from the European perspective is that there is a big effort now and policy commitment for gender mainstreaming into all policy and programs. And that includes gender budgeting. To what extent the budgets that European Commission spends include benefits for gender equality. Very important part of it is Horizon Europe now. So the history is of looking at gender in the context of spending on research and innovation. It was sort of about increasing the number of women in science, then increasing the number of women as principal investigators. But now with Horizon Europe, there's a big transformational change that is that every institution that is benefiting from the funding from Horizon Europe must have in place a gender equality plan. And not only this, that by default, all the proposals submitted for funding must explain what if gender dimension is included, should be part of the work. So gender equality is basically about representation and participation, and gender dimension is about how you design studies, what kind of impact you're going to create, and it is about the quality of knowledge. And this is really quite a revolutionary. I think only Canada has moved in the same direction so far. I don't think that in the UK there is that much concern about study design and gender dimensions in studies, but I think now that the UK has joined Horizon Europe, I think that will happen. So I'm beginning for the first time to be positive. There are now many projects, and I would strongly advise you to have a look at the Horizon Europe platform called Cordis, because Horizon Europe will fund maybe 40,000 projects, and if each one has got, say, 5 or 6 or 10 consortium members, that is a very big pool of your potential employers, that if you find who is working in the areas that your interest lies. I have provided Una with a number of links that she will share, because I would strongly advise you, from my own experience and experience of all those women who have been working on over the years, is to actually understand that your career pathway will not be the same as a man's career pathway, and also it's not going to be the same as other women's career pathways. We have looked at various areas of this, and certainly there is a diversity in a way that women's careers develop and progress. However, that doesn't mean that there is only one pathway to success. There are many pathways to success, and I would strongly advise you to have a look at the Academia Net, which has got several thousand CVs of women in science. And you can see those CVs, and you can inspect the CVs, and you can contact those women. And that gives you more than just a one role model or two role models. It gives you a whole lot of potential role models to look at and see how did they manage their education, how did they manage their career, how would they move between different sectors, which professional bodies they belong to. I find that it's a really very illuminating source of examples to learn really what is the reality of a career in science. I would also recommend there is a EU mentoring scheme that covers many universities in Europe, and to join that scheme. Also, I would recommend that you join the Eurodoc and make sure that you take every opportunity to develop your professional network. I had a colleague who was a young researcher, and she made sure that every time she went to a conference somewhere, she would investigate who else was working in her field in that locality, and just made sure that she met people and made connections. So not just at the conference, but also people who were not attending the conference to which she went. The other thing that I would strongly recommend is to have a look at the Elsevier Research Academy. There are some free resources there for professional development. You can learn what it means to be a reviewer for journals, what it means to be an editor, all those things that actually help to become successful in your career. And what else? Oh yes, if you really want to understand about gender dimension, what it means, there is a website in Stanford from a project that was supported by European Commission called Gendered Innovations. And that covers different fields and explains what the gender dimension means. So if you were to apply to Horizon Europe, you will be able to actually explain exactly whether the gender dimension matters or does not matter to the proposed work. I'd be happy to answer any questions, but for the time being, I want to leave time for the other speakers here, and I will finish here. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. That's brilliant. And all of those fantastic links are in the chat. And I'm sure that we'll be adding more as well. And yeah, just to echo some of the things that you said, it's great that you're positive. And I think you're absolutely right. Gender dimension, and this is something that I think if you're not aware of, you know, the role of gender in developing research and knowledge, then absolutely go and have a look at, there is an organisation called EDIS in the UK that's doing quite a lot of work in this space. But yeah, Europe is definitely trailblazing in this. Now we're going to hand over to Jen Bardsley, who's going to talk specifically about some of the things that the British Council do. There was a question in the chat about EURAXESS and scholarships and funding, and I think you're probably going to pick that up, aren't you, Jen? Or we can certainly pick that up towards the end, because EURAXESS is a network and a community and information. Yeah. Funding comes from Marie Curie, you know, MSCA, and from other funding pots across Europe. So it's EURAXESS isn't necessarily a funder, but I know the British Council is. So I will hand over to you.
Yeah, so the British Council does a lot of different things, but I think the important thing to highlight about us is that we're a cultural relations organization that frequently behaves like a science funder. So a lot of the work that we do is funded either by our own core grant or is funded as part of our delivery of the International Science Partnerships Fund. We're one of the 10 partner organizations that's delivering that work here in the UK and internationally on behalf of the Department of Science, Innovation and Technology. So for us, gender and inclusion and EDI principles are really shared across all our different platforms and are a main focus of our strategic activity in science. First and foremost, we're taking a twin track approach to inclusion. So some of that is activities. So one track is activities that are specifically designed to raise inclusion rates or to be specifically targeted at groups and populations that might be underrepresented, particularly in the STEM fields. The largest one of those is our Women in STEM Master's Scholarships Program. We also have a related early career knowledge exchange fellowship program under the ISPF. And we have a few other activities and programs that are designed specifically to be gender inclusive, or in some cases disability inclusive, and groups that are potentially underrepresented for other reasons, depending on the country we're partnering with. So it could be people that are first to go to university or other underrepresented minority groups. The second track of our approach is a little bit more diffuse, so you tend to come across it quite a lot. Initially, we started asking about gender impact statements in research project design in our call documentation, especially when you were applying for the Newton funding within the British Council, and we have carried that over into all of our programs. We now ask principal investigators to consider the impact of their work, the composition of their team, and the potential outcomes and dissemination plans through a specific gender inclusion statement on the application form itself, and that is a condition of funding with us. We also provide follow-on and top-up funding for principal investigators or for researchers affiliated with a grant that might need additional funding to attend a conference, to participate in field work because of caring responsibilities. It could be of challenges around traveling. So anyone that holds a British Council grant or is applying for a British Council grant can apply for additional budget, comes from a separate pot of funding for us to supplement that, to simplify or make some of those activities more accessible, because we're very conscious that women do face a whole different set of barriers in science, particularly around but not limited to childcare, caring responsibilities, social expectations, and access into what can be traditionally male-dominated environments, including labs, field work. So we do what we can through funding mechanisms and by creating enabling environments through mentorship, through balanced teams, through balanced panels of assessment, to try to ensure that wherever we can improve some of those access restrictions. We're very conscious that we can't fix everything, and that we can have sometimes a relatively geographically limited or regionally limited impact. But for us, every time we have an impact that improves participation rates in the STEM fields, we really go a little bit closer toward more inclusive STEM fields. And for us, it's not just STEM. We fund anything that's a research output of a university, so that could be humanities, social sciences, and arts. They're a little bit less common than our STEM funding, but we do have those programs as well. So I will put a link in the chat and share access to our opportunities and insights page. But otherwise, I'll stop there. And that's in terms of what British Council does.
Thank you so much, Jen. And that's really useful to know some of the funding streams that are out there. There are a couple of questions in, one of them's quite specific. So if you want to just have a quick look at that, Jen, that would be fabulous. Yeah, the chat is disabled. That's my apologies. That was my fault. So the chat's disabled, but you're able to ask questions in the Q&A function. Now we're going to pass over to Shashi, who's the Arya, who's the British Council Women in STEM Fellow at Imperial College in London. And Shashi's going to share some personal reflections on her career journey and pathway so far. Over to you, Shashi.
Thank you, Claire, for having me here and giving me opportunity to share my career highlights. And so I am Dr. Shashi Arya from India, and I'm a British scholar, early academic researcher, and working at Imperial College London. So before navigating into the leaky pipelines, I would like to share my career highlights. So since I was a young child, I was always fascinated by the environment and surrounding beautiful nature. But I was also sad looking to the continuous degradation, the environmental pollution. So I decided to pursue my education in environmental science. So I graduated in environmental science and chemistry from Ram Manohar Lohia Awadh University. Later, I post-graduated in environmental science and technology from Banaras Hindu University. Later, as soon as I completed my post-graduation, I got an opportunity to work on a WASH project for an NGO funded by UK government, Raleigh International. Later, I joined CSIR NERI and worked on various national and international projects like UKRI, Newton Bhabha, and then I was very much interested in waste management. So I thought of doing my PhD and completed the doctorate from same CSIR National Environmental Engineering Research Institute and completed my doctorate in 2022. So the moment I submitted my thesis, I found that the British Council of Women in STEM is a program that launched Imperial Climate and Energy Early Academic Fellowship at Imperial College. So I thought it was a good opportunity for me to like expand my work and learn more about my topic. So I applied for the fellowship and I was awarded in 2022. So I came to UK Imperial in October 2022. I'm still continuing here. So along with my other scientific achievements, like career, I have 10 years experience in different aspects of environmental science and sustainability, waste management, with expertise in electronic waste management, where I got an offer, like I published a book on electronic waste management that's available on Amazon and other websites. So along with that, I had significant publications and sustainability outcomes. So along with these career highlights, one of the biggest highlight was I got married in January 2023, but I'm pursuing this fellowship. We are living in a distance relationship. My husband lives in Dublin. So as a personal experience as women in STEM, I think this is one of the biggest support from my family and friends. I would say like 100% support that I'm able to pursue my career as a woman in STEM, because without their support and like motivation, I think I won't be able to do so much in my career. And also the support from my supervisor and my mentors and my friends is also appreciable. So my experience, I would say, was kind of mixed. From family and the mentor was 100%, but yes, it's obvious it's not the good every time. I had to face few challenges while so say I had to do some experiments. So I have to complete all my experiments in the daytime. If in case I had to complete my experiments in the late night, I had to accompany my friend or like any colleague to stay with me for the nights to complete my experiments in the night. So I think these kind of challenges a woman faces during her career in STEM. So before, like these were my some of the career highlights, and then navigating to the leaky pipelines. I would just give a brief, short, like contradictory things that exist. The perspective exists for a woman, like in Sanatan Dharma in Hindu Vedic scriptures. The woman is considered that they play a pivotal role in child psychic development. That means indirectly they have their contribution in the development of a nation, society, or a country as a whole. But despite these factors, there is a disparity for a woman in STEM. There are different stages I found in my surroundings, my schools, in my college, at the workforce. But the women at some stage of her life, they faces some kind of discrimination, isolation, or challenges where she is unable to perform her 100%, or she has to sacrifice her workforce, her capabilities, her dreams. She has to sacrifice her dreams. So as there are, well, the first one is the entry education, where the perception, the social norms, and the gaps in the education system and the expensive fees often makes her apart, like distance from achieving her dreams or going into the science or engineering streams. As I remember, one incident happened when I was young in school. Like my friend's elder sister, she got her first menstrual cycle, because of which she was unable to give her final exams, and that like she had to give she has to retain in the next class. Because of that, one year of her career was lost. So as you can see, the number, it's just an example. The number of girls here in the entry level education is 10, but gradually with the workforce, the number has reduced. It might be because of hiring basis due to the motherhood role isolation. So I was reading somewhere that most of the women's after their first child, they leave the workforce, and uh, uh, after that they 5 years later, the 15% of the women, they are still lacking, they are still absent to the workplaces, because of the increased dual responsibility and inflexibility in the workplaces, discrimination, or judging their capabilities and potential skills. So later, with the 10 years later, even 16% of women are still absent, or hesitating to join the workforce stream. And also they lack the networking, sponsorship opportunities, and most importantly is the lack of role models around them or in the society. So there are certain these kind of stages that makes them scared to opt further her career in the as a women in STEM. So as a way forward, I found that maybe we need to start right from the entry level, that is the education, like GEMS, girls in mathematics, engineering, mathematics, and science education. So GEMS is the word itself is a valuable and precious. So the girl should be treated as a GEMS right from their entry level education, and they should be given an equity and inclusion, employment, the respect, the dignity, and the opportunities. She should be given equally at the employment level, and the recognition at the leadership. I think this is one of the most important thing, because as according to the UNESCO, the World Economic Forum report, only 1/3 of the women are considered as a senior researcher, like others, 70% are the men. So these kind of things we need to address. So these are few initiatives that are being taken in the UK and other countries. The first one is like the British Council Women in STEM, that I have been here. I'm a part of that. The National Technical Government of Netherlands, then Royal Society Partnership Grants, Education Grants Scheme by the Institute of Mathematics, Microsoft, Toshiba. And the other initiatives supported by the Indian government are like Vigyan Jyoti by Department of Science and Technology, Supernumerary Scheme by Indian Institute of Technologies, IITs, Women Scientist Scheme, Gender Advancement for Transforming Institutions, Gati by DST, and Here is a like percentage of women in research and development. So as you can see, like India, 16.6% of females are only coming at the workforce, despite of the fact that 43% of women are science graduates, but at the percentage in the workforce is really very low. So yeah, thank you everyone. If you have any questions, just send in the chat box.
Shashi, you're amazing. You're a force of nature, and thank you so much for being really honest and open about your thoughts, your perceptions. And there's so many useful pieces of information and learnings from your own personal journey. I think just to pick up a couple of things, the role models, it's really, really important. If you can't see it, you can't be it. But equally, we want real models. And what you did, which was brilliant, was you shared your personal journey. So thank you so much for that. Real models as well as role models.
Yeah.
And I
Thank
think,
you.
and I think, there's been lots of questions in the chat about opportunities for funding, and you sort of shared all of the different support that you've had. So thank you.
Yes, thank you.
I'm sure some of it will get picked up in the questions. So if you have questions for Shashi, then please pop them in the Q&A.
Yeah, sure.
But thank you. We're going to move on to Dr. Maria Garcia-Fernandez, who is an MSCA Research Fellow from Queen's University in Belfast. Maria, if you can switch your camera on, Maria.
Yep.
Brilliant. Excellent.
Can you see the slides?
We can. And I think Una is just making them, turning them into, there we go. Perfect. Over to you.
Perfect. Thank you. Well, first of all, thank you for the invitation. I am Maria Garcia-Fernandez, and currently I work as a Marie Curie Research Fellow at Queen's University Belfast. First of all, I would like to share a little bit my career background and how it evolved from being a student to now my current role at Queen's University. Well, first of all, I come from Spain, and I studied a degree called Telecommunications Engineering in a small university in the north of Spain called University of Oviedo. And I also studied there my master's degree. During that time, I also had the opportunity to be a student during two quarters at Stanford University in US. And then I was also a research, well, I also did a research stay at a company in Italy called Microwave Vision and in the German Aerospace Center. And after those first experiences in research, I decided to start my PhD also in Spain. And during my PhD, I also did two research stays abroad, one at Northeastern University in US, and another one in the Netherlands Organization for Applied Scientific Research. After finishing my PhD, I did a first postdoctoral stay at the University of Oviedo, where I was working in a project for the Spanish Ministry of Defense. And later I got a grant from the European Union to conduct 2 years of research at Queen's University Belfast. This first grant was covered by the Next Generation EU funds, but fortunately, I was awarded as well a Marie Curie Fellowship from also from the European Union, although in my case was covered by UKRI due to the lack of association to Horizon Europe. As you may imagine, career in engineering means that you are mostly surrounded by male colleagues. But in my case, especially the last years of universities, I was the only woman in my degree because the degree had changed when I started university. so not many people were enrolled at that time. So at the end, I was the only woman. However, I want to send a positive message because I was not only the student ranked first in my degree at my university, but also all over Spain. So I got a prize from the Spanish Ministry of Education, who by that time was a former astronaut. And here we have a picture of the award. And then I also received a National Youth Award from the Spanish Ministry of Social Rights and 2030 Agenda, which was recognizing my commitment to foster the societal impact of my research. I will talk about my research a little bit later, but I have been focused mainly on detecting buried landmines. So obviously, this is a real important problem for our society. And also my research was awarded with different prizes, such as 2 Galileo Masters Awards and 1 My Galileo drone competition, all sponsored by the European Commission. So moving now to the research, I'm not going to talk in detail about it, but I have been mainly working on applied electromagnetics, and in particular on radar imaging and on antenna measurement. And regarding radar imaging, as I mentioned before, I was working especially in detecting landmines. And as part of this work, I had to interact a lot with people working in the army, in different ministries of defense from different countries, with NATO, and so on. So if you mix engineering with working in the defense sector, you can imagine that it's a really male-dominant field. Fortunately, again, bring the positive part of my experience. I was awarded a Marie Curie Fellowship, which allows me to conduct my own research line, which is again related to applying different novel techniques to the problem of detecting landmines. As I just mentioned, developing my career as researcher in the defense industry has been so far really positive, but obviously I have been mainly surrounded by male colleagues. And if I had to give some brief advice to people or to women who want to pursue a research career in STEM, I would say that you need to believe in yourself and not self-imposed barriers. We need to be confident with our skills. We are perfectly capable of carrying out groundbreaking research. And always, I think that facts speak louder than words. The work of female researchers is amazing, so we need to believe in ourselves. And also, this confidence should give us also the confidence again to pursue our goals and to identify opportunities in which we are interested and look for support. There are a lot of people that support early career researchers to apply for different fellowships. So for instance, in my case, when I decided to apply to the Marie Curie Fellowship, I got extremely good support from the Research and Enterprise Directorate here at Queen's University Belfast. And every university in UK has extremely helpful staff. They will help you to apply for fellowship. They will help you with everything. So don't be shy, ask for help, and you will get it, I'm sure. And that's all from my side. If someone wants to contact me, you can reach me with these details. Thank you.
Again, thank you, Maria, for really sharing your personal journey, you know, in a very, very male-dominated field, as you've mentioned. But what great advice to believe in yourself and pursue your goals and your dreams, and you're living the dream now. So congratulations on not just hurdling the barriers, but smashing through them. So and thank you so much for, again, being honest and open about your journey in research. And I'm sure that the questions, you know, if anybody wants to ask any specific questions to Maria, then please pop them in the Q&A. We're now going to move on to our final speaker, who's Sangeeta, who's founder and CEO of Gotara. And I won't steal your thunder, Sangeeta, about the report, but I'm really looking forward to understanding some of the real macro challenges that there are.
Thank you, Claire, and thank you for the opportunity to speak here. And it was great to learn about your experiences and some of the progress that we have made in general across the globe. So as far as I'm concerned, I started out my career as a chemist. Then I got a PhD in material science. And I worked on jet engine technologies, got a bunch of patents, and got trained in many different jobs. So did business roles and technical roles throughout my career. Worked at GE, Nielsen, and Amazon, and navigated hurdles to reach C-suites. So why did I launch Gotara? And I'll tell you a little bit more about Gotara. Personal experience. As I became the first-time new manager, I had a sensitive situation where I challenged somebody, and I stressed like hell, where I thought I would quit or I would get fired. And looking back, I wish there was an organization like Gotara I could have reached out to. And the second one, when I was a leader, I always felt this gap in upskilling technical talent for business skills. They are great technical experts, but how do you help them, and especially women, how do you help them grow in their career to become organizational leaders? And so I've actually launched a bunch of leadership development programs that are still in existence in those companies after 10 years. So a little bit of story about the background of what Claire was talking about. So today, I think the society is doing a great job of graduating women. The percentage of women in many of the science and engineering field is actually 50%, which is awesome. And companies and employers, all employers are hiring these women in great numbers. Awesome. However, within 5 to 7 years, 40 to 50% of women leave their STEM jobs. Huge loss. And just the US alone, it's $9 billion a year loss. And the interesting thing is, which was a surprise to even me, who has been passionate about gender gap throughout my career, it was happening under my nose. Meaning, when we did behavioral research from the data we had collected within Gotara over the last 40 years, what we found was, unlike the myth, we always said, well, women are leaving at that age because, you know, they're trying to raise their family. And on the surface, it looks right. And I have a daughter, and I said, oh, maybe I should do some soul searching. Am I a good mother? Lo and behold, we find out that 90+% of women are not leaving for family reasons or work-life balance. They are being pushed out. They are undervalued, excluded. Managers are not supportive. They're not getting the opportunities. That's why they're leaving. So that's part of the reason why we launched Gotara. We said we got to capture these nano moments or these micro moments that are happening where we can retain women and actually grow them into pipeline of leaders. In many organizations, just earlier this morning, we were talking to a customer where they have a great pipeline of women coming into the company, and they have a bunch of senior leaders who are women, but there is no pipeline. And that is, so all companies are actually hiring the same women on top for a year or two, so their numbers go up and down, but they don't have a pipeline. That is what we want to change. So our solution is a nano solution. We call it career sprints or just-in-time advice. And it is done confidentially, so we address the sensitive issues that women sometimes don't want to share, even men don't want to share. And we created this platform by STEM for STEM women. And we want to see a return on investment of any time anybody spends on this, so they see value at the end of it. So on our platform, we have both B2C and B2B. B2C, to the consumer, the membership is free. So all of you attending the call here should join for free. And what I would say is we have about 31,000 women on the platform from 176 countries. And we receive requests from the women across the globe, and many of them don't have any network whatsoever in the STEM field. And they get to actually get advice from the CTOs, the VP of technology of the really large or small, big companies in different parts of the world, whether it is US, UK, or other parts of the world that they will never get to connect. They get that advice within 24 hours. One of the women that we actually just recently helped said that she really had a dream job interview that she's going for, and any help we can provide to land that job. And the advice was given within 24 hours, and lo and behold, she lands that job and thanked us. So when we look at the advice we are giving, 75% of the people, more than 75% of the people, are actually taking that advice and applying it and being successful. So I think the differentiator that I would talk about with Gotara is, I think the role models are great. I think all kinds of training that happens across the globe is great. It is the nano and the micro moments that we need to catch and fix. You can have great policies. It's hard to police stuff. And this is where a third party like Gotara can come in and address your gender gap to retain and grow women and help attract women to your organizations. And with that, I want to thank you all for listening, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
It's really interesting. Thank you so much, Sangeeta. And I think, you know, you really nicely sort of pulled some of the threads from the conversation that we'd had prior to that. And I think that there are so many similarities from in the US to what's happening here in Europe and across the globe. So I think we're all facing similar challenges. If all of my esteemed colleagues could pop their cameras on, we have a fantastic question from Angela Minas, who's talking about mentoring and role models. And many of you discussed, you know, mentioned role models during your presentations and your talks. Have you had good mentors? Have you had good role models? And what are, you know, just thinking, what are the traits, what are the personality kind of, you know, what are the things that they were able to help you with? And where did you find those mentors? I mean, obviously Gotara is you know, Sangeeta's talking about, you know, your organization in the US, but, you know, where do you go? Who wants to pick that one up first?
Maybe I can pick up. Yes, so I really had very nice mentor during my PhD. PhD supervisor, Dr. Sunil Kumar, a senior scientist and senior Humboldt fellow. So I would share an incident that I was working on a project, Municipal Corporation Greater Mumbai, that was like doing the assessment of solid waste all over the Greater Mumbai. So we had to go to a landfill site, in Mumbai that was not safe at all. That was risky for us to go in the landfill site and do the quantification of the waste over there. So our supervisor, he gave us a bouncers. So in 2014, I remember, like, I never saw a bouncer, like they were like twice of mine. So they were like, they escorted us, they were along with us during whole of the quantification process at the landfill sites. And I think my supervisor always supported us, either it's going to the like sampling, sample collection or field visits. He always ensured that we are safe, that we are having like every kind of facility. As a woman, he understood that there might be several challenges in the surrounding. So we were always supported by him. So I think, yes, because of his mentorship and guidance, I was able to I'm sitting here, and I'm at Imperial College, one of the world's biggest in the world. So yes, I had very good experience on that.
Good. Yeah, and it definitely sounds like it, Shashi. Elizabeth, in your career, mentors and allies in the work that you've done and your own personal journey.
Goodness, about my personal journey, well, I actually had a very good mentor when I came to England from Poland, so in the days where there were not many Polish people in the UK. And I wanted very much to study medicine, but I couldn't get in. So the next option was maybe medical research. And I applied for King's College to study medicine. Obviously, I didn't get in. And I was advised to go to biophysics department and see the head of the department there. And I went, and the head of the department was Maurice Wilkins. So I explained to him my situation, and he just started this new course called biophysics, really, which had chemistry, physics, mathematics, and biology, obviously. And he said, look at me and says, okay, we'll have started this new course. We will take you on, but after the first year, if you don't perform, you have to leave. And I said to him, well, fair enough, okay. So there were about 35 people who started this course. What he has done is that it was obligatory to take part in a social responsibility of science. It wasn't a course, it was a series of seminars that we all had to sort of sit together, look at the particular issues and discuss it and see where the societal problems occurred. Now, of course, the Maurice Wilkins came from the Manhattan Project, okay? So his own motivation to start the biophysics course at King's was to actually do something good for society. And I think that really transformed my thinking about science, because I suddenly realized, like, okay, now I can see why one should be a scientist, okay? It's not just about learning the technical stuff. And I think that really moved me in a direction that I wouldn't pursue otherwise. While I was there was obviously a lot of discussion about Rosalind Franklin, because she was based there. And both Wilkins and my immediate supervisor, Jeffrey Brown, were always questioned by journalists about their relationship with Rosalind. And so I was always supportive of Maurice Wilkins, because for me, he actually, basically saved me and allowed me to have a career. But I've recently read in Nature that actually the story of Rosalind Franklin has not been told completely honestly. Yes.
Yeah,
it's
interesting, isn't it? Because that it may be that one person's meant,
right.
that allyship to one individual may not be shared, beyond, to others. So
right. So that was for me. But also I found in our work in Portia, we have had a lot of allyship from important men in important positions that they believed in gender equality, but they just didn't know really how to go about it.
And yeah, and I think that can be really challenging. Sangeeta, I'm going to come to you next, and then Maria, perhaps, I mean, if you could sort of reflect on your career journey as well. So Sangeeta, you know, you've got the statistics and the data, but you know, what was your personal experience of, you know, moving sectors and starting Gotara?
Yeah. Interestingly enough, I really didn't, when I started my career, I had no idea what mentoring, coaching, or sponsorship was. And when I got tapped on the shoulder to go from research and development to marketing, and I was a lowly scientist, and here was a corporate officer of GE. And I said, why do you want me to go into marketing? And I later realized that he was a sponsor, and he was my sponsor. So every 2 years, he'll say, go interview for this job or that job. And I got lucky in that respect. But when I think about mentoring, I think the best way to identify a mentor is for you to look for people who you respect and you think that you want to emulate. So they could be senior to you, or they could be your peers. So many of my mentors are actually my peers. Sometimes they are my juniors, very junior. I would do reverse mentoring, and I would learn a lot from them. I would get as much out of them as they would get out of me. So from mentoring perspective, I think it's like more like a 360. And you should identify them rather than letting a system identify. Anytime the system identifies, it doesn't work out.
Absolutely. It's about that empowerment and taking control of your own career and professional development. I absolutely support that. And it's something that, you know, there are lots of resources out there. Maria, in your sort of career journey so far?
Well, I think that I have been, again, quite lucky in the sense that all my supervisors or line managers have been always really supportive. So they have always helped me, supported me. If some opportunity arises, they tell me. If I need help for a project submission, they are always the first ones to help. And also in my field, for instance, I would say there's an increasing support among all women to help young researchers. So for instance, in some conferences, they are events specifically tailored for women, like women in engineering and so on. And it's really good when you attend those events, because you meet female peers, and in many cases you meet like really senior and, let's say, famous colleagues, and it's important to build that kind of connection, and they also help a lot.
Yeah, and I think you're right, that professional networking, Sangeeta, all of you have mentioned, you know, those professional networks, professional bodies, societies getting involved and getting out, getting some, you know, you get out what you put in. Can I just come back to, I've been lucky? No, you haven't. And we should stop saying this. There's a concept called luck readiness, and in careers, so we do a lot of careers research, you have to be open to those opportunities. You're not lucky, Maria. You made those opportunities. You were open to those opportunities. You worked hard. So you weren't lucky. You toiled for all of that. So it's not to devalue or belittle what you said, but actually you should be really proud how hard you've worked. And so I think, you know, it isn't just luck. You have to be open to these opportunities. So and Google the phrase luck readiness, because there's a whole careers theory around that, and around being open to opportunities, to mobility, to, you know, mentors, to professional networks, and going to conferences and putting yourself out of your comfort zone, because that's what you're doing. So we have we've got 4 minutes left, and we want to make sure that everybody, you know, if you I want to come to Jen just to highlight anything else that the British Council and EURAXESS can do to support. And then just one reflection from each of you. What's the one thing that you will take away from today's discussions? And just to say, Una and our amazing colleagues at the British Council are going to put all of those amazing links into the email. So all of you in the audience will get to be able to click through to that information. So Jen, and then I'm going to come to each of the panelists.
Yeah, I mean, just very quickly, we'll share the links to our opportunities and insight pages that span HE and science. There's a lot of bits in there, especially around what British Council does in higher education, that are a little bit more lateral, but that might be equally what you need. So I'd strongly encourage you to look at those. And a lot of our calls are only just about to open for the new year. So if it looks like there's not a lot going on, try it again in a month.
Okay, so I'm going to go to Sangeeta first. I'm going to go back down the order. So I'm going to go to Sangeeta first, and then Maria, then Shashi, and then Elizabeth last. Okay, so Sangeeta first.
Okay, so one thing that I would say to all the women in the audience, all people in the audience, that even though you're a woman and you understand this topic, you need help to change the system. So even if you are at the top of your organization, you cannot assume that you're a woman, so the system is going to change. You're suddenly going to have diversity that you need. You need to make sure you have intentional programs, you have intentional reviews that makes the difference. And then on a personal level, I would say that constantly be reaching out back to help others, other women, so they don't have to struggle like you did. They don't have to repeat the same issues that you repeated. When I see my daughter 30 years later struggling with issues that I thought must have gone away and they're still there, it just shocks me. And so let's work together and join hands.
Yeah, no, I think that lifting and raising each other up and joining hands is absolutely what we have to do, metaphorically and physically as well.
Yes.
Maria, your reflection.
Well, I would say that there's still a lot of work to do. We are still far away from equality, and at least we need to believe in ourselves. We are capable of everything we want to achieve, and we need to find our way to achieve our goals. And of course, as Sangeeta said, it's really important that we also support next generations and help them to shape their career and overcome all the challenges.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Maria. Shashi?
Yeah, so I totally agree with Sangeeta and Maria. So I think we also need to create an awareness in the society, because not only at the professional front, but also at the personal level, like lots of like support from their partners, from their families. I'm lucky, I'm very much lucky in this, because my in-laws and my whole family is very supportive in regarding to this, and I'm also like thankful to British Council, like they have given me this opportunity. I think I have met Jane at Newcastle British Council event last year. So this year I'm really happy to share that Imperial has sponsored through British Council a Pakistani woman who has 6 kids, and she is coming to join this fellowship. So I think it's really wonderful and amazing that the changes are being the progress is in way, that the women are coming with their kids, and the British Council is funding like such potential women. So I'm really happy with this. Yeah, thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you, Shashi. Elizabeth, last sentence from you.
A sentence is, please have a look at this new innovation in recruitment of researchers, which is called narrative CV. So it's not a CV that is structured as it was for men. It is structured that shows the experiences that you were all talking about, yes?
Yeah.
And try to write your future CV, okay? We had some project about future CV. See yourself 10 years from now and write it out in a narrative CV, because your stories were fantastic, okay? And most of it would not appear in your constructed CV. So think about writing a narrative of your own future.
So the UKRI, who's the major funder here in the UK, Sangeeta, is driving the change to narrative CV. So it's about potential. It's not about that backward look, how many papers you've published, you know, how much grant income you've got. It's about thinking about the potential. And again, as a career, you know, someone in the careers and professional development area, we're really excited about narrative CVs and how you portray your career potential in that way. So yeah, there's some we'll put some links into that, and the RDF, the Research and Development Framework, and how you use that to develop your narrative CV. But we're getting lots of thanks in the chat, and thank you all for your insights, being very honest and open, and sharing your personal journeys and experiences. Una, is there anything else that we need to say apart from the QR code from the feedback form?
Yeah, well, yeah, I just wanted to say thank you, Claire, for sharing, and thank you everybody for the panelists, and to everybody that attended as well. So yeah, just generally thank you. So I'm just going to share my screen so you can get the QR code for the feedback form, and I promise it is a short feedback form. So if you wouldn't mind completing that, that'd be great.
Amazing.
So
there
yeah.
we go.
So just a reminder of the 21st of March, Researchers Beyond Academia webinar, and this is the code for the feedback form.
Brilliant. Well, thank you, everybody. We're 2 minutes over, but it's been a really fascinating session, and thank you for your time. And please be constructive and give us your feedback, topics, other things that you want to see, and we'll try and share all of the links to all of the information as well. And have a lovely, lovely afternoon, or what's left of it. Take care. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, thanks so much.